Raise your hand if you've ever had dry, tasteless chicken breast. Yeah, me too. If you want a fast, easy, and foolproof method for the juiciest chicken breast, this is it. Hi everyone, it's Maya from WholesomeYum.com, and I make easy, healthy recipes with 10 ingredients or less. So today I'm showing you how to make chicken breast in the air fryer. Listen, I resisted buying an air fryer for the longest time, but it was probably the best kitchen decision I ever made. I use this multiple times a week, possibly even more than my oven. And nothing makes juicy chicken breast like the air fryer does. I'm going to give you all my tips to ensure that it does turn out juicy every time. And the recipe is super basic with just a few simple ingredients, but I do have some seasoning variations I'll show you at the end as well. Let's do this. So the first step for any juicy chicken breast recipe, whether you're making it in the air fryer or not, is brining. So I'm going to place the chicken breasts into a large bowl. Mine are 8 ounces each, but larger or smaller sizes work just fine. And I'm going to add 4 cups of water here, or enough to cover them completely. Then I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of sea salt. This might seem like a lot, but it's necessary for the brine to work correctly. The formula is 1 tablespoon of salt per cup of water, so if you need more water to cover the chicken, just add more salt accordingly. And I'll stir this together to help the salt dissolve. If you like, you can also add the salt before you add the chicken to make it easier to stir if that's better for you. Then just add the chicken so that it's completely submerged. So, little science lesson here. A brine is a mixture of water and salt. Some people use other things, but it's really just the water and salt that makes the biggest difference. When you have the chicken in the water with salt, the concentration of salt in the water is higher than the concentration of salt inside the chicken. This makes the chicken absorb the water, so it turns out super juicy. I do this for virtually all my chicken breast recipes, no matter how I'm going to cook them afterward. So my chicken has finished brining. This works in as little as 10 minutes, but you can do up to 24 hours in the fridge if you have the time. Any more than that, the chicken is gonna start to get mushy. And make sure you rinse this before you proceed to the next step to get rid of that excess salt. Now you can lay your chicken breasts out on your cutting board, and it's time to season, but before we do that, there's a very important step. I'm going to pat these dry with paper towels. This is going to help with browning, and it's going to reduce the amount of moisture that the chicken releases while cooking, which means it's going to be more juicy on the inside. Flip it over and pat dry on the other side as well. I'll show you my simple seasoning for this chicken, and then we'll cover other variations at the end. So I'm going to brush the chicken with 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and I'll use half on the first side and then flip and do half on the second side. You can also use avocado oil here or any neutral tasting oil, but either way this is going to help with browning and flavor. Even though we brine the chicken in salt, I'm still going to add a teaspoon of salt to this recipe right now because we rinsed most of that salt off when we rinsed the chicken. I'm also adding 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and you can adjust this to your taste, but I love garlic, so I think this is a great amount. And again, I'm using half of the seasonings on one side, half on the other. Next, half a teaspoon of paprika. This gives the chicken that golden color, and it just gives so much flavor. Last seasoning, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Of course, feel free to adjust this to your tastes. This amount is not very spicy, and it's what I use so that my kids will eat this. And I like to pat the seasonings into the chicken a little bit to spread them around and make sure that everything is coated evenly. Now I'll place these into the air fryer. My air fryer is fairly large, but if yours is smaller, you may need to cook these in batches. Just make sure the chicken pieces are not touching or they won't cook evenly or properly. You can kind of move them around like this to ensure that they're not touching if needed. So the best way to ensure that your chicken stays juicy but still fully cooked is to use a probe thermometer. So what I'm gonna do is insert this into the thickest part of the largest chicken breast, and I'm going to set the time, and it's going to beep when it reaches that temperature. That way I'll know it's fully done but not overcooked. I'm going to set the temp for high, the high alarm, and I'm going to set that to 163 degrees Fahrenheit. The safe temperature for chicken is actually 165, as many of you know, But this is gonna rise by a few degrees at the end while the chicken is resting, so I like to set it to 163 just to ensure it stays juicy. If you wanna be on the safe side, 165 is also perfectly fine. So now I'm gonna close the air fryer. Make sure your probe thermometer doesn't move around or shift as you do this. And I will set it to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And I will set the time for 10 minutes because mine are 8-ounce chicken breasts. You can go ahead and start that. So if you have medium average size chicken breasts, 8 to 10 ounces, then even if you don't have a meat thermometer, a good time guide is 10 to 12 minutes. If yours are smaller, 5 to 7 ounces, then it's gonna take 7 to 10 minutes. And if you have really large ones, 11 ounces or bigger, then it's gonna be 12 to 16 minutes. But this is the best way to know for sure. Once your chicken is ready, you can open the basket and carefully remove the probe thermometer. It can be hot, so don't be like me, use a fork or something. And you're going to cover this with foil and let the chicken rest for about 5 minutes. This is gonna help the chicken get more juicy because the juices are going to settle, so don't skip this step, though you can do it on a separate plate if you like. After 5 minutes, you can remove the foil, but again, be careful, there might be hot steam coming out. And I like to add a little sprinkle of parsley just for color to make this look pretty. Feel free to skip this if you like. But you will want to remove the chicken from the air fryer pretty quickly to avoid any further cooking from the residual heat. My chicken breast is ready, so I am going to serve this up and show you how juicy it turned out. And I have some sauteed eggplant here as well. I have a separate video for this if you want to watch. I'll link that in the description for you. Okay, here goes. You can see that juiciness inside. That was just perfect. If you think chicken breast is dry or boring, try this method and tell me if you still think the same thing. Okay, last thing, I promised you some seasoning variations. If you want to change it up, skip all the seasonings that I used in this recipe, skip the salt, all of it, and instead you can use one of my seasoning blends or you can buy these store-bought. So I've got ranch seasoning here. This one has a really nice ranch flavor as you'd expect. Or you can use Cajun seasoning for a little kick if you like some spice. Taco seasoning for a Mexican flair, or fajita seasoning is really good as well. Or lemon pepper seasoning is another delicious option for chicken. You can buy these seasonings pre-made or you can make them yourself in about 5 minutes each. It's super quick. I'll link the recipes down in the description for you. If you use these, you're going to want to use 1/2 to 1 tablespoon per pound of chicken, and you don't need additional salt because mine already have salt. But if you use a store-bought seasoning that does not have salt, then you'll want to add 1 teaspoon of salt per pound of chicken. If you make this air fryer chicken breast, I would love to hear about it. Leave me a comment and tell me, is this the juiciest chicken you've had, or do you use another method that you like better? And if you need a healthy side dish, here's my recipe for zucchini noodles that are not watery. You are going to love them.